Welcome to 5 Shot Weekly. This week we ponder if Atl United has enough depth to sustain a season's worth of fixtures and international breaks. And we muse if Atlanta can turn it around on Sunday versus Chicago. Getting all that and more coming up. Before we get into it, become part of the notification squad by hitting the bell next to the subscribe button on YouTube. Welcome to the show, 5 Shot fam. I'm AJ, and this is Michael. And Atl United unfortunately fell to Toronto FC 2-0 over the weekend, and Atl United were severely depleted with 7 first-team players out. Had to bring in a player from the twos on a short-term contract just to make the numbers. It's that type of match. But yeah, we'll review it. But before we get into all that, much love to all our Patreon loyal fam. Specifically Gavin, Jordan, Niall, Andrew, and Chris. And yes, if you want to join in and get your name called as well, join us on the Patreon description below for that. But yeah, so Atl United v Toronto FC in Toronto. It's kind of a somewhat of a house of horrors sometimes when yeah, we just can't get a W there. But it is to an effect where, you know, it wasn't as bad initially as we thought it might be and as we thought it might go. Now, Michael was a little bit more optimistic with maybe just a 1-0. I was a little bit more fatalistic, if that's a word, with 3-0. But yeah, we split the difference. And, you know, unfortunately, like we saw and prognosticated before going into the match, and I think many, even the most optimistic, didn't really see us winning. But some people did, oddly enough. And, you know, more power to you if you did. I appreciate that optimism, but yeah, the realism really snuck in, I think, on this one because you know, when you don't have your spine, when you don't have Giakoumakis, when you don't have Thiago Almada, and Stian Gregerson as well, of course, and yeah, it's Slisz. It's yeah, you know, you basically go in with Saba Lapsenice, probably as the most likely person to make things happen, and I think largely he was the person that looked the most apt and able. But yeah, how did you see this match as far as, I guess, kind of an overarching thought?
Going into this game, I didn't have high hopes, like you referenced. I had a 1-0 loss here. We surprisingly looked pretty good for how many players we had out. Toronto was, you know, fairly strong. They were almost their full strength, not quite, but they were still a very dangerous team in terms of what was on paper. They didn't really show it on the field, though. They allowed us to grow into the game. We had some chances where we could have executed a nice little smash and grab. If that volley came off Saba and went in, I would have thought that this game could be drastically changed. However, that was not to be the case. We also didn't start Zonde. We put Tyler Wolff out instead. Another one of our typical starters not appearing in this game, or at least in the first half. So I was a little, you know, I did not have a lot of faith in this team, in this game. I thought we were going to lose. However, like I said, I thought it was going to be 1-0, and, you know, they did score 2 on us, but the second goal, I thought, was us completely switching off and not closing down an obvious attacker that should be closed down, and 3 guys just kind of sitting around, not closing the guy down. That goal is not acceptable. The other goal, though, that Toronto scored is acceptable because that was where Toronto just kind of played well and beat us fair and square. So, you know, that the first goal, not counting that and counting the second one, I feel like a 1-0 loss is probably should be fair for this game. Unfortunately, it was 2-0. And you got to ask a lot of questions to the defense. You got to ask a lot of questions to the coach about what happened there, because that's the kind of goal you can prevent and you didn't.
Yeah, and we'll get to that in the specifics on that. But the first goal, it's yet another kid who scores his first goal against Atl United, and on the road, no less. It tends to happen. And yeah, basically Tyrese Spicer, who was their number 1 overall pick in the 2024 MLS Super Draft. So very nascent in his career, gets his first goal against us, and I mean, it's a good goal. I mean, to be fair, like Brad Guzan, who had 8 saves on the night, couldn't do anything about it. I mean, it's a little bit of a renaissance in regards to Guzan, where, I mean, the only thing that really he did wrong tonight, or not tonight, but that night, was basically the parry, where maybe he could have, had a stronger hand in pushing it out. But yeah, pushing it right into traffic. Yeah, we'll get to that goal. But it is, yeah, Spicer. He makes it 1-0 early, and yeah, it's just that's when you get punished for not finishing your chances, because yes, that volley, like you were talking about, from the cross by Wolf, who I think it's interesting, the thinking from Pineda. He mentioned because defensively, so Sean da Silva, he obviously doesn't maybe rate as high from a pressing standpoint. Maybe some of that is kind of taken away with Giakoumakis not being in the 11. That strong press from up front and counter pressing isn't just as lively as it normally is. And I think that's what we were missing as well, not only from the defensive and pressing standpoint, was that we couldn't hold up the ball. It was Tiare had some difficulty, I think, in kind of bringing others into the game. And yeah, it's like a whole thing is I'm actually surprised at how well we were actually able to hold the fort down, because the numbers from the overall match don't read for pretty things to look at, for sure. But because they had 21 shots, we had 7. They had 10 shots on target, we only had 3. I mean, we won the possession game a little bit, but their XG was 2.9. Yeah, it was we got battered. It was anybody that tells you any differently, that's I don't know. They're maybe trying to be just very optimistic about this team, and that's fine. But it's just like, not only does the eye test, but the stat test also pretty much favors Toronto. It is what it is. I mean, it's like, yes, some people might just want to write off this match, but I think there were some takeaways that we could draw from this. But we'll kind of get to that. But that second goal, that's where the defense falling asleep, and it is the back post, because it's a shot that comes from the right, but somehow, again, it's defenders on either back post. We just we kind of crapped the bed. Like, we maybe, sure, we were trying to go for it, but basically after they scored in the first half, we were trying to go for it the entire time. Like, there was still some bravery. We weren't fully just okay, 1-0, we're just gonna wrap it up. We're just okay, not even gonna try, because but I think it's that type of game that's just it's a very common looking game that we play on the road, where Like, sure, we did try to do some different things, but we're still trying to play out. We're still trying to do some things that just do not bode well, especially when you don't have the personnel to do it. Like, Nick Firmino coming in, a bit anonymous, unfortunately, but it is his first start, essentially, in MLS. So you can't really rag on him too hard, but, you know, they pretty much marked him out of the match, and his touches weren't fantastic either. But, yeah, I mean, in terms of that second half, did you see some growth, some caveats from some of the players?
The only thing I could say, you know, there's maybe like a couple of things. I mean, you talked about it a little earlier. Bartosz seems to be rolling back the years a bit, doing some work, you know, keeping us in the game for large parts of this game. Then I thought that, you know, Daniel Rios coming in looked a little bit better with his hold-up play. I'm curious to see how he does in the future for us, because whatever it is, Jamal just doesn't seem to be dialed in. He doesn't seem to be able to do what we're asking of him. So, and that's, you know, that's the whole point of his existence on the team, is to get in positions to score and to put up some opportunities or something. And we're just not really seeing it. Maybe Daniel can do something there. I mean, these are backup strikers in MLS. You don't expect much from them, but you're hoping maybe at least a little bit. It's not as much I saw from Jamal. You know, Saba obviously was most likely to score, and he almost did once or twice. That was promising. You know, with better guys around him, he's gonna kind of get better chances and probably put those one or two of those away. I was, like I said, surprised on it didn't come in, or didn't start. But, you know, Gonzo maybe had eyes for a more defensive, athletic, being able to run faster type of, you know, up and down player in Tyler Wolff. So that was, I guess, fine. And he did pretty well. And this is something like I noticed during the game, is that, you know, outside of not closing, you know, the three players not closing down Spicer enough, I didn't really see too many like glaring errors from any of the players. I don't think anyone did like startlingly bad or anything. This wasn't like, you know, we were played off the pitch, even though the stats were, yeah, grim, of course, and the scoreline is 2-0. However, I think realistically, if we played you know, to the potential of this B team we have, this could have been held 1-0, and that's a pretty respectable result given who they are and what Toronto is putting out there, which are, you know, like world-class players. So, I mean, it's not that bad for what they were asked to do. They did a little bit better than I expected, and it's, you know what, better than the 6-1 against Columbus. So there's at least some improvement in terms of our depth. Yeah, Nick Firmino is invisible. He was bodied off the ball several times, which was surprising. I didn't expect to see him but then again, a lot of the play, Toronto's like average height has got to be like 5'11" or something. They got a lot of big guys on that team.
Oh yeah, because you have like one of the smallest guys in Lorenzo Insigne, but and unfortunately he went off with an injury, and so it might be ACL. He might be gone for the season probably. But Bernardeschi,
that sucks. You never want to see that from any player, yours or another team.
Exactly. But Bernardeschi as well. I mean, the combo play that they had that tore us up. It was one of. It's amazing
they didn't score on that.
Exactly, and that was one of the probably that boosted their XG to be so high too, because Bartosz had a point blank save that he probably had no business saving. Knew nothing about
it. Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, holy crap! I mean, just a really good instinctual save. But that interplay between Insigne and Bernardeschi tore our right side up.
This is something I say anytime I see it, and now that I say it to you, you will hear it in the back of your head when you see it in games, in MLS games. If you see people do back heels in an MLS game, it breaks the other team. It destroys their brain. They can't comprehend that just happened, and it just, everything starts failing, cascading, and it's kind of incredible. It's kind of like hilarious to see. But next time you see it, you'll notice, you'll be like, oh, they did a back heel. And now the other team's just like in disarray.
Yeah, because it is that's how you unsettle a defense. That's how you unlock these defenses sometimes, is doing the unexpected. And I mean, there are a lot of talented dribblers and passers in MLS. Like, that's what it is. There's more money spent on attackers than really defenders, and I think you see that. I mean, like, Noah Cobb, homegrown, has a lot of promise. We'll talk about him probably more in depth, but he didn't look completely out of his depths, but there were missed assignments, missed tackles. Brooks Lennon having to kind of track guys into the middle of the box there, especially for the first goal. And it's just, I think time and time again, it's there weren't 21 shots, in this match without kind of good reason. And I feel like that was, it is a thing where, this defense, they weren't protected. The midfield, Tristan Muyamba also didn't really have a great match either. And then, of course, the protection on the wings. Sabo was trying to track back on some of them. But, yeah, it's like, you basically just have a whole team that, I think with good reason have not gelled here, especially on the road. They're, in this sense, a completely disjointed team, and I think, we salvaged what we could in terms of not completely embarrassing ourselves. Because, yes, like you were saying, Columbus, that 6-1 game, that was a whole different story, obviously, as well. Sure, a lot of different players out, but the conditions were way different. This was a little bit more freezing temperatures, which, okay, sure, it can be a little bit difficult to play in. But, yeah, if you're just playing in a water slide, like the Columbus game was, that's you're not really used to that, especially if you're playing in the Bends. And, weather conditions aren't really that big of a factor. So, but, I think the good thing is that the team didn't use that as an excuse. And during and after, not during, but after the match, Pineda said, he didn't want to give the impression that they'd lost because they were missing so many players. And he has full confidence in the group and will continue to work with them. And Dax McCarty said that the weather was certainly not pleasant, quote unquote, but not an excuse to losing the game. Did say the wind played a little bit of a role, but both teams had to deal with it, so it's, quote unquote, not an excuse. And he thought that they started the game pretty well, but a shame to concede when they did. Absolutely, because, that sequence was a few missed tackles, and then the Spicer goal. But, and then this week, Tyler Wolff, he mentioned that this is interesting. I think maybe this is protecting some players here, but Wolff said, I think Firmino did well. It's a tough role to go in there where Thiago Almada plays. It is congested, a lot of players, but I think he did well. Obviously we don't agree, but and then Firmino, when he asked, he thought it was good moments. Obviously tough game with the conditions, but I thought we did well. I tried to get touches on the ball in tight spaces, try to help the team progress the ball. Unfortunately, we did not get the 3 points, but we looked to build on it for sure. And he said also, quote, in the final third, have some better final passes. We felt like we had some good actions the last game, but we couldn't finish it. Or maybe a missed touch or missed communication. We need to be more dangerous in the box and take more chances. And, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it was... okay, maybe what he means, like, take more chances is maybe be more clinical. But, I think it wasn't really about... kind of, I guess, what he's saying. I mean, I see why he's saying it, but I think it's, good moments. They're.
I mean, it's it goes without saying, every game has good moments, every game has bad moments. But we don't look at games in terms of that. We look in terms of their aggregate, the net good, the net bad. And so like that's what kind of gives you a much better picture. So I don't, like it's good from a player standpoint to look at things kind of in silos or individual moments, because you can analyze things as like, we're like, Nick can say something like, of all of my touches tonight, I maybe I range at like 60% are like really the exact kind of touches I want to have is my average in most games. Today, I got 70%. That's really good for me on a developmental level. So that's great. Like that, personally speaking, that's good, and you want to see that. That's how a player can frame it as, I had a good game when like maybe other things didn't look so hot, or maybe even the player themselves didn't look that hot, because they perhaps were comparing themselves to their previous self in other games. So, the metrics and the way to reference how you analyze something can be different, and in that way that's fine. But like, to your point, it's kind of disingenuous to say like, well, there were good things and blah blah blah. It's just like, well, do you see the stats? Have you looked at the scoreline? Did you see the eye test of like what happened in this game? Like, I get that too. So it feels weird when a player says that or something like that, but for me it's forgiven, because it's like, they're looking at it in terms of personal development, I think, and that can be fine. But like, in a way, kind of know your audience a bit. A little conciliatory maybe, I don't know, is appropriate, but it's like, this isn't the training pitch anymore. This isn't, Eleni 92. This isn't like yay personal development, like this is, we win here. This is a stadium and a team for winners, for killers, people who come here to win trophies, not to, like, well, I'm trying to go up 5%, in this season or something like that, in terms of, it's like, we don't, like, I get it, but that's just my take on it, and that's like a little cynical, but that's the way I see it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's great points. It's, I think it's not really cynical at all. I think, pointing out that that's how players look to improve is, finding those things that they did well, or, I'm sure they watch tape and go over the game and, pretty much all the touches and kind of really analyze their game on the whole. So, most of the players are their harshest critics, probably, but or the most successful anyway usually are. But I think that's what it is too. Is that from a from a 40,000 feet view of it, it is kind of one aspect of that where it would be very important and prudent to make sure that they do still look at the things that they need to improve, and not feed fans kind of things that won't really probably make them too happy, but I think he's learning, and especially it's like to still be kind. It is that this is his first start. Like, it's not like, in no way is Firmino a bad player. It's that he didn't have a great first match, that he had his first MLS start, and that's okay. There's a lot of players that didn't have a really great start to their MLS career, but his first goal came in his first touch. So in terms of when he made his debut. So it is, there's levels to this, but
yeah.
But anyway, so let's wrap up this match, and any final thoughts?
I just, like you said, it's like, that we could extract some value and interest out of analyzing that game, but in my opinion, for the most part, it's a wash, because this is a team that probably won't see the pitch again in this form. Hopefully, the idea is that we want our starting available as much as possible, to the extent that it's possible to have them all on. So this is probably not something we'll be having to talk about again as much. I mean, obviously we're going to see some of these guys again in different games when they need to be called upon, and hopefully though there will be more starters around them to buffer them and to help them and to be the that pylon player near them. So I think if Firmino started with a otherwise starting 11 that we normally sport, I think he probably would have done much better.
Yeah, and a different game state as well and all that. So yeah, absolutely. But yep, so that wraps it up for this match, and Atl United will be playing the Chicago Fire on Sunday, and we will have that match preview later on for you in this episode. But let's get into the news. And Atl United, because of this result or non-result, they are now in 7th, eighth rather, and right below Charlotte and right above Philadelphia. We've lost 2 and won 2, of course. But Cincy and Miami up top on the standings with 11 and 10 points respectively, and New York Red Bulls are surprisingly in 3rd with a kind of resurgent start to their year, but definitely some spicy stuff happening over in New York. I don't know if you heard, but Emil Forsberg apparently ghosted his wife and children to move to New Jersey to play for the Red Bulls, and his wife is filing for divorce. And I don't know if that will affect their season a little bit, but I don't know. Red Bulls being that high, that looks a little bit like a glass house to me. But yeah. So as well, moving on from that, the referee lockout is now over, and the PSRA, they voted to ratify a new CBA with Pro, and 93 of the 97 eligible voters took part with a 77.4 approval, and with that, the pro refs are expected to be back on the field this weekend, and this new CBA kind of sees new significant increases in pay for the officials and a 7-year deal. So, less of the USL and other high school refs. Just kidding. Wasn't really high school refs, but man, did it feel like it at times, especially at the bends. There were there's some terrible bad calls there in their steed from the Scabs, unfortunately. But any thoughts on the MLS lockout ending? MLS referee lockout.
Just happy that it's ending. I mean, no one likes lockouts. Lockouts stink for everyone. Sounds like they got more in line with what they were looking for. 7 years is a long time. This league can change a lot in that time period, and I believe it's on a trajectory to do so. So, interestingly enough, they locked in 7 years. It will be interesting to see what happens with that. There's talks about LAFC signing Olivier Giroud, another household name in world soccer. They just keep on coming, and things might continue to change. Clubs might be able to spend even more. Money might come in even more in the future. So we'll see how that works out for them. But at least at this very moment, they believe hopefully they're being paid what they deserve for in proportion to how the league has grown. So that's always a good thing.
Yeah, and so hopefully I wouldn't say it's marginal, but there's some improvement, I would say, from MLS pro refs to the other refs that have been there in the steed. So this is only a positive. So can they get better? Absolutely. Will they get better? I don't know. But Yeah, moving on from that, Stian Gregerson, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, it might make, the position of an MLS Pro ref more attractive to other refs now because, they're getting paid more and they have bigger players in their league. So I mean, it could be an overall benefit for us, and we might see the reffing get better.
Yeah, I like that thinking. Hopefully that is the case. But yes, Stian Gregerson, he unfortunately had successful surgery on his left meniscus that he had an injury on, and LA United announced that his rehabilitation process will determine his recovery timeline, but they said that he will be out approximately the next 3 to 4 weeks. Hopefully that is actually the case. That doesn't seem that bad, to be honest, as far as a surgery and especially a meniscus. It doesn't seem like it's a tear if no one's really using the T word here. And so in that sense, obviously we'll see who actually starts in his steed here. But Gregerson, hopefully he has a quick recovery to all of that. But what are your thoughts on this Gregerson injury?
I hear rumors that meniscus injuries are usually longer than that. So hopefully it is what Atlanta United is saying. That would be amazing. That would be great. Their sports science and their physical therapy and their medicine is very good, obviously. So hopefully the miracles of modern science can get him back going as soon as possible, because boy, are we going to need him. We are going to need him to be firing on all cylinders. Who knows how long it could take, for him to be up to par again, get back to that level he was at pre-injury. That could be even longer, which is, not ideal, but we have to give him some time because injuries like this are bad, and hopefully it's, it doesn't seem to be as bad as it could have been. And hopefully it's not a indication that is injury prone towards his knee, and that, in the future he could see some similarly devastating injuries to his knee. Hopefully that's not the case, knock on wood, because we've invested a lot in this guy, and I really like him, and I really, really hope we get to see him play at his potential sooner rather than later.
Because, he is a player that, he came in and he mentioned one of his best attributes was his pace, his recovery pace. And, that's really tough to hear, especially when he was pretty much banged around against, Orlando. And, that start to think that really played a part a little bit, because they banged him into the boards. They did all sorts of things, and they got away with it. It's if there's anybody to blame, it's the topic that we just talked about.
Yeah.
But so moving on from that, Poland, they punched their ticket into the Euros, and part of that was Bartosz Slisz. They played, they qualified for the Euros after beating Wales in a penalty shootout, and definitely as far as that goes, Bartosz Slisz, it'll be amazing, to kind of play part in the Euros. He's in a team with Robert Lewandowski and also Wojciech Szczesny. It's there's nothing to shake your stick at. This is a top side in that sense. And the fact that he's part of that and a starter, man, that just speaks a lot of volumes here. But he joins Almada as one of the players that helped their national teams qualify for a major tournament, and so that will be amazing. Unfortunately, on the flip side, Greece played Georgia, and Giakoumakis and Greece, they were knocked out. Giakoumakis missed the final pen, and absolutely heart goes out to Giakoumakis. We're fully behind you. and I'm sure we will.
He's behind me right now,
and that is true. And Michael, if anyone's listening on the podcast, they will not have seen you point to the to your Giakoumakis Celtic.
That's right. Visual medium. That's right.
Yes.
On the audio platform. That's
right. But yeah. So Giakoumakis, he also posted on Instagram on Wednesday night. Long message, but I'll try to sum it up. Basically, is that he basically went home after he didn't stop thinking about basically keeping his promise to his wife and children about being a winner, and a promise that he made 4 months ago. And he's basically he's torn up about he's torn up about this being knocked out for sure. But the as far as his family, they gave him a little bit of a kind of welcome present that is absolutely heartwarming. Just basically they're saying that they're thinking of him. We missed you, and they care a lot about him, about their dad, and so
they're proud of him.
Yeah, they're also proud of him, exactly. And so, it's definitely something that I think he will use in a positive way. I mean, this dude is a mentality monster. That I feel like this is just a kind of a little bit of a small hurdle that will no longer really be an issue. But because he's sunk penalties. He's a striker. He's got to have that short memory, and I think he knows how to kind of compartmentalize this. But any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, he's a veteran striker with Champions League experience. This guy, he's going to bounce right back. He's not going to let it bother him. If anything, it might fire him up to want more, to do more. Give me more penalties. Give me. Hopefully that's what happens. Hopefully, I kind of want to expect that. It'll be exciting to see what happens when we get awarded our next penalty. What happens there if we see that fire come out? So either way, like I said, I don't think it's going to negatively impact him. It's a tough pill to swallow, of course, but the guy's professional, experienced, veteran. He'll be fine.
Yeah. Well, moving on from that, they are definitely fine. They are ecstatic. The U.S. men's national team are the kings of CONCACAF, and they won the Nations League, rather. And it's another win. Three-peat. It's as well. There were some contentious moments. Mexico was in the stands. It was definitely, there were a lot of fights. There were a lot of ugly moments. But what was not ugly was Tyler Adams' strike. That was ridiculous. Talk about from the parking lot. That was by some distance, and it was a bullet. That, I don't think you can strike it truer than that. But yeah, so massive congratulations to the U.S. men's national team and former LA United five stripe, rather. That's probably easier. Miles Robinson, and as well, U.S. Soccer, they broke ground on the new National Training Center on April 8th, or will be, in Trilith, and USSF CEO JT Batson and President Cindy Parlow-Cone. They'll be on hand with Governor Kemp and Arthur Blank for that. So that will be amazing in our backyard. But as well, the U.S. women's national team, they're on pace to break an attendance record for the She Believes Cup game at the Benz. In terms of the tickets sold, it's 39,000, and they've just opened up the 300 level. So, that will be quite incredible. But yeah, any thoughts on the national team?
Yeah, I watched that game with the men's team. That was a bullet from Adams for sure. His face running to the sideline was amazing. Like just that joy. I mean, him coming off of an injury and starting to finally get minutes again, and seeing that kind of performance. I mean, the United States men's national team missed him big time, and they are happy to have him back and very much lucky to have him back because boy was that an opener for the scoring of that game. Hats off also to Reyna, who scored a second one to put the game without a reach from Mexico. Overall, it was a good game from the United States point of view. There was some systematic issues, I thought, about the way they played. I felt like they kind of relied on their individual talent and they just kind of overwhelmed Mexico with that instead of having some kind of Berhalterian system, which is concerning because if there's no Berhalter system at this point, what the heck is he doing? So, it was an entertaining game nonetheless. Oftentimes is when you have USA in a final versus Mexico. So I'm always looking forward to that, watching those games. As for the women's team, like I'm excited because I'm going to that game. I'm one of those people who bought a ticket. Really excited to see that. It'll be my first women's game or my national team women's game. So that'll be exciting. I'm just so happy we're finally getting national team games in Atlanta, Georgia. That's awesome. And hearing about the training center in Triliff, that's great too. Just so much more coming, so much more development. It's a wonderful time to be a soccer fan in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, no doubt, a lot of bank accounts are going to be drained in Georgia to see all these games. But it's going to be a soccer capital, and that part is absolutely exciting. But yeah, and also exciting was Atl Utd 2. They took down the Carolina Core 4-0 at Fifth Third Bank Stadium, and yeah, it was the first win of the 2024 campaign. Luke Brennan, Javier Armas, Kareem Tamimi, they all found the back of the net, and yeah, it's great first win, and yeah, 4-0, pretty damn good. But yep, so that pretty much does it for the news, and it gets us into the mailbag, and you guys send in these questions through IG story and Discord, and yeah, please continue to do so, and we might answer your question in the future. But first question comes from Josh Cohen fan. With our upcoming game with Chicago on Sunday, do you think that Giakoumakis and Almada will be able to return in time to play at least 60 minutes or come off the bench and make an impact? Without giving away your lineup. But yeah, what do you think?
As far as I understand it, I believe that they'll have time to come back and play. I think Giakoumakis, that we talked about, will be, what's the chomping at the bit?
Champion of the bit, yeah.
Mm-hmm. To try and come back onto the pitch and rectify what was wrong in that last game in Greece, for Greece. So I think if they are available, if they get back in time, they will absolutely want to play. Thiago just doesn't seem to have limitations. He just seems to be able to play all the time, 24/7. Wouldn't surprise me if, like, when he's done soccer games, he goes and plays like some pickup games. Like, he just doesn't seem to stop, doesn't seem to slow down. It's nice to be young, right? So I think if they're available, they will go on, and I believe that they will be. So that's likely the case.
Right. Yeah, fully agree. I think minutes won't really be an issue. I think if there is a little bit, because also Giakoumakis didn't really take part a ton, and I think you'll be okay. But yeah, Almada did play, but the best players in the world, they play 2-3 matches a week. It's something that they have to get used to. So hopefully he does. Yep. Next question comes from Lancillo Green. What's going to be done with Nick Firmino going forward? He's clearly too good for the MLS NP, but not ready for the big leagues just yet. Has the club considered loaning him back out to a USL club?
I think that, I agree. I think he's a step up from MLS Next Pro, but I don't think he's quite MLS ready. The problem is to get him MLS ready, he needs to play more MLS games. And unfortunately for us, that might result in us dropping points. If we do that with multiple positions, that could be very detrimental. And with having a player like Thiago Almada, I mean, it's ridiculous not to start him and to play him as much as you possibly can. So it's gonna be. I mean, it was always gonna be tough for Nick to find time to play on the first team with Thiago around. So what is his options? I think his options is to find, a team to be loaned to that is similar to MLS level that he can play at and can start at regularly. I don't know what that would be off the top of my head, but I think USL might even be too low for him. It might work maybe at like the best USL team or something along these lines, but I would prefer him play at like a higher level than USL, because I don't want him just to come back to Atlanta and then to do okay or USL level. I want him to be better. I want him to excel. I want everyone on our team to be significantly better than that level. So, and I only think the way he gets there is by getting his wings somewhere else. So, because it's just, what are you going to do? You have Thiago Almada who never stops playing.
Mm-hmm. That's great points. It's I think that highlights the issue that not a lot of intra MLS loans happen, and so if he did say go to a kind of, well, it's early obviously, so the lower sides of MLS, it's not really known quite yet, but yeah, it just doesn't really happen, and that's the issue, is that I think he's destined to probably kind of be more of a bench player, kind of be an impact sub to a degree. And, if he is able to get more minutes, then, fantastic. But I think he'll have to probably get some fitness by playing with the twos on occasion, just like Tyler Wolff. I think we'll see a fairly similar role that Tyler Wolff has kind of played recently. Is that, he'll come on, probably be one of the first guys off the bench in terms of a player that can get you a goal. And so, I think he's got some ability to be able to be someone that we can rely on. It's just a matter of, as a starter, it's just not quite there yet, obviously.
I mean, if we make a long run in the U.S. Open Cup, he would be perfect fit for that, I think.
Yeah, especially earlier on in those matches too. So, but next question comes from Jennifer 5 Takes. Now that the ref strike has ended, how much improvement in reffing are we going to see?
I mean, it's like there are some games where we had the MLS Pro refs that I thought were being reffed extremely poorly. So, I mean, it really, and obviously there are some refs in MLS Pro, that organization that we know have a history and they have a tendency to make some strange calls. Like Chilowitz comes to mind, a couple of other ones as well come to mind, but like there's just some refs where you see that they're going to be reffing your game and you go, oh no, not this guy. So you'll always kind of have that. It's for you would hope that some of those refs that were scabbing were, like they made a good argument for why they should be like looked at as better refs. I don't know who they are or if there are any actually that made that kind of cut, but it was a time for them to show off what they could do, and they got their chance, and it is what it is based on that. We're going back to our pros, or the MLS Pro level refs, and you're just going to you're going to get what comes with that. And like I said earlier, I hope that this, like an increase in the contract in terms of money and things like that. And brings in better refs. Other refs see that as like this is a more competitive in terms of pay structure in this league, so maybe it attracts better refs. We'll see. But I mean, no one, I don't think anyone was like happy with the level of MLS Pro refs before the lockout. So I don't think they'll be happy with them after either.
Yeah. And I think that's what it is too, is, hopefully that those incentives that maybe they can build in for raises, for, less errors in matches will bring about a higher level of pro referees.
Speaking of the ref topic again, we forgot to include that the new rules will be initiated starting this weekend as well, which is going to be interesting to watch. So keep your eye on, if a player's down for more than 15 seconds, them having to go off, and some of the other rules. But I mean, I just find that trying to cut out some of the flopping and things like is interesting. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, because it might take away a little bit of the dark arts, which sure. But I think it also will kind of severely punish some of the teams that actually get fouled a lot, aka us. We have players that absolutely get clamped down, and it's sometimes with just absolutely, it's unfairly, and that should be fouls, and not exactly called. But anyway, next question comes from the ATL guy. Is Noah Cobb the future at center back?
He's going to have to be for now, at least. So, I think we'll see him a lot more until Stian gets back. It's unfortunately, we don't really have that many other options that Pineda's willing to play around with. The whole thing with Abram is still very, very sad to me that we can't seem to work him into things. Williams has been a breath of fresh air, so that's nice. We'll see how it goes. Cobb seemed pretty good. Like I said, when we did the match review from last game, even though we lost, I didn't ever pick him out and go like, oh, he's absolutely just getting played off the pitch. Like, he just doesn't belong here. Didn't really think that the entire game, which is really, really good. That's what you want to say for these players. Nick, on the other hand, I thought he kind of seemed like he's not ready yet. Cobb can at least compete, I think. Maybe, he's going to get beat because he's still young and he's still learning, but I think he's reached a level at least that he can be somewhat of a stopgap for now. So I'm happy with it so far. Hopefully, I mean, again, we haven't really played like a world beater team yet. I'm really curious to see how we match up and how we handle that, and how some of our less experienced players handle it. That's going to be a real test, a real challenge for them, and hopefully they do well.
Yeah, because obviously, we played Columbus, but that was with our first 11. But in terms of Noah Cobb in the match against Toronto, I think, yes, was he perfect? No, he missed some tackles. He maybe got beat, didn't win every duel, but even the best players aren't going to win every single duel. But it is where, Noah Cobb being the right footer that he is, I think he's the natural person to probably replace Gregerson, at least in the starting 11. Luis Abram, obviously, he was off with Peru in this international break, so wasn't going to get a start, but not being with the team. But it is also interesting that most coaches will not put two left footers together.
Yeah.
And
I was just thinking that, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things. Like, you can put a couple of right footers together, but it's the interesting thing about it that I guess the left footers usually aren't as ambidextrous as the right footers for whatever reason. And maybe that's a stigma. Maybe it's a, kind of unfounded by, most of world football. But, it just usually doesn't happen. And unless you're, in a massive pinch, in which case, okay, sure. So it'll be very curious to see what happens over the weekend and who will actually get the start at center back. But moving on from that, and next question comes from Terminus United 83. Can we find the depth to win when our main core is out?
It depends on the team we're playing against. If they're suffering as well, if they're not also that good, like they're a low, bottom dwelling type team, there's a possibility that we could get lucky and, smash and grab or something like that. But I don't think our depth in terms of like what we had out for Toronto, like again, I don't think we're going to see that very often, but if that comes out again, I don't really see them getting wins. Maybe draws if we play extremely well and the other team's off their game, but I don't think our depth, like relying on our depth in terms of like wholesale change, like almost like what we had, I don't think that's a way to go. I don't think that's going to be the way we go either. So unless we are, like one of like 2 seasons ago, we were like riddled with an insane amount of injuries and we just had to cope with that. But I just don't think that's hopefully what's going to happen. We're going to have our starting 11 for the most part for most of the season, and then we rotate certain pieces here or there, and not have to just wholesale, let's see what the kids can do basically, and then we get kind of stomped again. So like at a 6-1 type of result. But I mean our depth, it seems to be getting better over the years, I believe. It looks like we aren't, the Toronto game almost looked like it wasn't like a throwaway, like just immediately a wash, based on watching it. It's like, something could come of this. Unfortunately, it didn't. We're still not there yet in terms of our depth, but at least it looks like we're getting a little closer. So maybe in 3-4 years from now, 3-4 seasons, you could put your depth out there. They might be able to just start win games. Mm-hmm. So hopefully, maybe, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, it's a problem that I think a lot of clubs have. Is that, it's a very top-heavy type of league where, the players from 12 to 18 or however many players you can actually have, because it changes sometimes. In those type of matches, you like Michael said, you're not going to have 7 players out like we did. 6, starting 11 players, but still, it's like that rarity is usually not the case. But it is, like we've said, it's a punishment, it seems, for the good teams that are actually trying to win and trying to bring in international level type players. And like we said during the live post-match fan reactions, that I mean, it just seems like there's, when you have Darlington Nagbe, when you have Mucho Acosta, and they don't get called into their national team, but they are certainly talented enough. One, obviously, for Argentina, the plethora of attacking number 10s is just, an embarrassment of riches. But Darlington Nagbe, just, of course, not really ever wanting to play for the U.S. men's national team is, to their favor. And so it is absolutely super, super tough. But that pretty much is it for the mailbag, and that moves us on to the match preview. And 3:30 p.m. on Sunday versus the Chicago Fire at the Benz. It will be another home match where we can set some things right, hopefully. But the Chicago Fire, they recently won 4-3 against pretty resurgent CF Montreal and Jose Martinez. But Chicago Fire are pulling out some results lately. Not doing as bad as they were last year, but maybe.
I mean, what are they in 12th in the East?
They're in 12th, but this is the thing. They look a lot better than they did last year. So, results-wise, maybe not quite there. It's a little bit of, where they're positioned is not actually telling the whole story. But in the last 6, for us versus them, we've won 3, drawn 2, and lost 1. So pretty good record lately against them. But of course, that last match against them was in May of 2023, and it was a 3-3 draw. So hopefully there's a lot of goals, but hopefully it's just one side getting a lot of goals, aka us. But it's they're a side that has some really good players now. I mean, you have Kellen Acosta, who's come in. You've also have Tobias Salquist, Hugo Kuipers, but also in terms of this team, they weren't exactly, at least last year, known as a team that created a lot of chances, but them still having the player that's isn't really performing for them in terms of Shaqiri. It is definitely a curious thing. But our old friend Andrew Gutman, he's now back in Chicago, and so from whence he grew up, he obviously probably will have maybe a point to prove, and hopefully he does not, because we've seen that with players that looking at you, Jose Martinez, when you have something that you want to say, he said it, unfortunately. But key departures from their offseason: Usman Doumbia, Kai Kamara, Miguel Navarro, and Jairo Torres. But I mean, in terms of the pundits, they don't have them finishing that high, but an average of probably about 11th, which is probably the place that they're in pretty much currently, but as high as 7th, as low as 14th, and so pretty much bang average to absolutely missing the playoffs, and it's a team that we probably should beat, to be fair, by many metrics. But of course, last season 13th in the Eastern Conference, didn't qualify for the playoffs, but one of the first teams to be out as well. But so for the unavailable players for Atl United, Stian Gregerson, of course, is out. A lot of players are returning either Thursday or Friday, and they should be playing a part in at least the starting 11, if not making the bench. But that gets us to the predicted starting 11, and maybe more so before we get into those predictions, kind of what you're hoping to see from this match from the Five Stripes.
I'm hoping for us to go back to what we started with, their earlier matches that we won. I expect to see Giakoumakis scoring. I expect to see visionary passing from Thiago Almada. I expect the Five Stripes to light up the environment in the bends like they tend to do. And if it's a possession-based game or if it's not, I don't care. I just want to see us win. So, I don't care how we do it, as long as we get the job done and they make the fans happy. I think we're going to be seeing us go back to that. I don't think Chicago is going to be a team that's going to be able to hurt us really that badly or take advantage of maybe some of our weaknesses. And I only say that because of the statistics. I don't know, I haven't been watching Chicago. They have a -1 differential, so that doesn't bode well for them. They have 1 win, 2 draws, and 2 losses. That doesn't scream scary to me. I'm not afraid of them. And if they if they're coming into the bends, this place, I believe this season is shaping up to be a fortress. I want to continue our undefeated record for this season at the bends, and clear Chicago easily. because I feel like you said, I feel like we should beat them, and I think it should be fairly easy. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. And I mean, I think our old friend Andrew Gutman, as much as we did love him in Five Stripes, he's a player that we can target. And it's if we can kind of at least drag him out of position, get him ball watching, do the things that we know where his weaknesses are, I think we can really punish our right side there. And so, with Saba looking to have a point to prove a little bit too, I think it'll be, I don't think there will be any love lost. It was, was Gutman and Saba. I don't think they ever actually met each other, and so
I don't think so.
Yeah, they weren't in the squad at the same point because Gutman was moved in the summer. So yeah, no, I think it's definitely like there won't be any love lost there. I don't think they would have really trained against each other either if they hadn't even encountered each other. So there is kind of a point of attack that we can really exploit here, but it's also this. It's like they're not a really strong defensive side either. But of course, having said this, it's going to be like some 0-0 match or something like that because commentators curse, right?
Right.
But yeah, in terms of I think what we need to do, I think, is that we need to be able to hit them on the wings, where I think it's where we can punish them. And luckily we have some really strong players on the wings that can do some damage, and I think I see Saba, maybe as well Lennon, having some big matches here. But let's get into that predicted starting 11. In between the sticks, probably pretty easy. Braguzan.
Yeah.
Yep.
Braguzan has not lost his position yet. Again, like we say, like almost every episode, this team seems to be a win-lose type of team in terms of their positioning. Like, if you will lose your position, if you just don't perform well and someone else shows in training that they deserve to take the opportunity, they win the spot per se. It's not just like we're gonna rotate for rotate's sake. We're not just gonna, hey, let's give him a chance. He's been on the bench for a while. Let's give him a chance. It's like, no, you have to earn it, and the guy with the spot has to give you like a reason to think about changing. So neither of these things. Well, I think Cohen probably makes a good argument for his position. However, Brad has not given you the other half of the equation that needs to happen, which is he needs to give you a reason to take him off, and he hasn't done that yet.
Right. Exactly. 8 saves in the last match. I mean, yeah, and then from a, kind of on the ball standpoint as well. I mean, fairly assured. It's I don't really. Yeah. Okay. He's an MLS level keeper at the moment where, yeah, he's not placing balls, on the feet or on the head, completely pinpoint, but you're not really expecting them to. But getting into the fullbacks. So Lennon, and who do you have? Do you think Wiley gets back, or do you think Ronald Hernandez?
I mean, if he gets back, it has to be Wiley. I mean, Ronald had a pretty dismal game at left back, so I would really not want to see him there unless we absolutely had to. And again, Wiley's another one of those. I mean, the kid's 19. Like, he'll be fine if he plays some more games. I mean, like, I know we want to be careful with players, don't want to break them, etc., etc. But if you're gonna, run anyone into the ground, Caleb Wiley's probably more than capable of handling it.
But it is also, too many minutes on young kids, legs. It eventually does break them down. But I think it's probably okay at the moment. And we'll find moments.
It's the Atlanta United sports science people will give the okay there if it makes the most sense, and I trust in them. They've seemed to have made a lot of decent calls ever since, like, and analyze the whole like uproar about the analyzing injuries that were revolving around the turf and things like that. But ever since then, things have seemed pretty good, and I trust them.
Yeah. Onto the center backs. Derek Williams probably is the easy pick here, but who do you have as his center back partner?
Yeah, I mean, it has, again, like we were talking, it has to be Cobb, because I don't think anything in his gameplay last game really necessitates him being replaced with Abram or anyone else. So, if Abram's doing good in training, that's great. But there has to be a reason for Noah to step off. He can't just, be taken off just because, well, we pay Abram a lot and he hasn't played in a while, so maybe we should give him a shot. I feel like Abram has to earn it, and Cobb has to give a reason why he shouldn't be the starter.
Yeah, I mean, I also think it's Cobb, but I think it would be interesting to see, okay, if it was Abram and Williams, who would actually be in the right center back role?
I think it would probably be Abram, because Williams has been in the left for a while and is acclimated to it.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be my guess.
Yeah, no, it's a good shot. Yeah, it's a tough call, because it's like we haven't seen the right foot of Luis Abram very much, so it'd just be, him playing with his left probably more so. And if that were the case, he would be targeted, and it would be something that I would start to fear a little bit. But on to midfields. I think it's pretty easy if Slisz does get back in time. It'd be Slisz and Muyamba.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And as well, in the middle, Thiago Almada, if he does come back in time.
Absolutely.
For sure. Now, onto the wings. So, Saba, probably the easy pick here. Would you persist with Wolf, or do you start Sean Da Silva?
Yeah, I mean, if there's a reason outside of like what we were kind of postulating about, Wolf being a better defensive player, can run more than Sunday, then if some other reason besides that is the reason why Sunday didn't start, then that might also hold him back from this game. But I think it's probably a tactics thing, and so that case, if that's the case, then I think Zonde starts, because I don't see us needing to play that way again. However, like I said, if there's something else going on, then that was more part the reason why I didn't start. Until that's resolved, I guess we might see Wolf again or someone else.
Yeah, because I mean, it might have been tactical in a sense where Silva versus Orlando was a bit loose with his passing, and then as well, kind of maybe defensively wasn't tracking back / pressing as much as we wanted him to. Maybe that is an aspect of, okay, yeah, you have a player that's in Wolf that is more apt to do the hard yards and kind of go after it from a defensive standpoint and win his duels. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's Silva, but I think it's one of those at home. We're gonna be on the front foot. We're gonna be beating, kind of everybody. And
I mean, like, I'm thinking about, like, because my previous points were, you have to earn the spot. The other person has to give you a reason to take you off. That seems to be what Pineda goes with. Mm-hmm. So if we applied that to Wolf's case, mm-hmm. I mean, I don't really see, like, I didn't really see his game as like being very bad or anything like that. I don't think it was like a reason that he needs to be not started again. However, I think this case is maybe different in that this was more of a tactical thing, less that this is a win or lose type of position type thing. Mm-hmm. So that's just my take on it, because I want to be at least consistent with my analysis and what I'm trying to understand is going on in Pineda's head.
Yeah, that's. Who knows? Who knows what's going on in his head sometimes? But yeah, definitely I see your points. I mean, yeah, for sure. It's there's definitely a possibility that Wolf could start, but I think very much so if Giakoumakis, he's already back in town, so he's gonna start. I think that's just straight up. Plus, he didn't really see a lot of minutes anyway. So, yep, I think that is the case. And
I would be scared if I was Chicago, honestly.
Absolutely.
I would be terrified with an angry and hungry Giakoumakis coming at you. I would be terrified.
Motivated, absolutely. So, in that, let's get into the score prediction then. What do you have?
I see this as being a 3-1 win. I think that we unfortunately let one in. I think I always feel like Atlanta's good for breaking trends for other teams sometimes. And then Shaqiri's just going to score a banger on us out of nowhere. I'm always afraid that the DP on the other team will just kind of, take 2 touches, like 5 or so yards outside the box and just have a shot. And lo and behold, it happens to be a worldie. And then it makes it on ESPN top 10. And you're just like, oh my God, come on. Yeah. It's like we played a perfect game outside of that. And then this stupid thing happens. So
right. Mm-hmm. So I had exactly the same scoreline. And it is reminiscent of our very first win against Chicago Fire. Where, we got our first win, 3-1. So, yeah, I think it's a good scoreline to pick. And, I think it's good, in the sense that, okay, we get the number of goals that kind of help, I think, a lot of regards where you're at home, you want to see a lot of goals. You probably want to see Giakoumakis score or Almada, to just kind of keep that confidence going. But I think it's also that we're not at our strongest defensively. We're going to be missing some players. Yeah, they're probably going to get a goal. And, the clean sheet eludes us again. It's annoying, but, we do have one at least. And hopefully we can get some more. But this match is rife for it. It's just a matter of, do we have the personnel to actually make it happen? I don't know if we do. But
so I'm waiting for Thiago to score from a dead ball or from the run of play, and he hasn't done that yet. I'm hoping this game maybe he can do it.
He's obviously scored a penalty, but so that is a dead ball. But
technically, yeah. But from
free kick,
gifted goals essentially.
Right.
Sure. I'm hoping he could start doing that again. That would be nice. But if not, then I think the goals probably come from definitely Giakoumakis, at least one, and Saba, and hopefully Zonde or someone else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I think we definitely want to see our wingers kind of bag some goals to get their confidence up. So, ¿por qué no los toros? I don't know if that's correct. You guys can eviscerate me for my Spanish in the comments.
I think it's like ¿por qué los dos? Like, why not both?
I know, but I'm saying all of them. So.
Oh, okay. Then there you go. Maybe.
I'm playing on it. Yep, that's why. But anyway, guys, let us know in the comments below what your score prediction is. But guys, that's pretty much the episode, except for the question of the day. And the question of the day is, who's the most important player in our starting 11 that's not a DP? What do you guys think? Let us know in those comments below. But Michael, having heard that question, what do you think?
It's tricky because of the accounting DP status and everything like that that's been going around. But I think non-DP, that's tough. I'm in between Brooks Lennon and Slisz. Because Slisz is just, it's just locking down the midfield defensively is so important, and he's done really, really well for us there. But Lennon is just a consistent assist machine and workhorse. I'm not sure. I guess I'll go with Brooks Lennon right now because I think he's just been phenomenal for us.
It's a really great shout. Yeah. I think it's Slisz. I think it's it's the piece that's been missing. That has pretty much. I mean, yeah, like when he's there, you see how he shields that defense, and really tough in the tackle and all that. But so far, when he's not, I mean, which is very small sample size, it's there's some moments where we just we're missing tackles. We're not marking our man, and it's one of those, like, he's a Polish international for a reason, and I think on a pretty good Polish team too. So I think that's it's with good reason, I feel like. But you guys let us know what you guys think in the comments below. But guys, that is it for today. That's the episode there and there. Remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. For Michael, I've been AJ. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next video.